My name is Dr. Jane Goldberg. Welcome to my show, Musings from 20th Street. I'm a psychoanalyst and the owner of La Casa de Spa, which is on East 20th Street. We're here today to do the 18th segment of my Really Real Reality TV group therapy show. I wanted to begin by talking about the year before I was born, 1945. The world was reeling from the global hate that had been expressed in 2 world wars. And that year, the Charter for the United Nations was formed. The reason why that's of particular interest to me is because the United Nations was an organization that was formed on the same premise as psychoanalysis, which is that verbal communication, talking, is a better expression of aggression and hostility than weapons. In 1950, the United Nations commissioned 2 psychoanalysts, British psychoanalysts, John Bowlby and Renee Spitz, with their names, to study the effects of the deprivation of maternal love. Freud had thought that love needed to be studied scientifically to find out under what conditions it flourished and what conditions it didn't flourish, and the effects of the conditions of love not flourishing. And so at this time, the war had been over, and there were all these orphans that were in homes in England. And the whole society was being taxed. And so they studied this particular orphanage. It had, I think, 37 orphans. And all of the attendants gave the care that these kids needed, babies, most of them, in terms of clothing and food and warmth. But they didn't have the time to actually attend to them in a loving way. They weren't caressed, they weren't fondled. And so these 2 psychoanalysts were coming in and studying the effects of the fact that these babies were not really being physically loved. They were only given basic survival tools. And what they found was after about 3 months, most of the babies were they were kind of shriveled up, and they weren't talking, they were trembling, they were shivering. And then about 2 months after that, most of them had taken on an appearance of being idiots, an appearance of idiocy. And before the year was over, I think 27 of the original 30, I think it was 34, actually had died. And I think that this effect of needing care, needing nurturance, needing love in more than just a minimalistic way, I think it's not just reserved for babies. We see the example of couples that spend their whole lives together, and one of them dies and the other one can die shortly after that. That happened with my own parents. My father died rather suddenly, and my mother had spent the previous 10 years curing herself of a terminal cancer. And then my father died, and I remember about a year after that, I made her go to China with me. I was also in a state of mourning because I've mentioned that I had my heart broken by this one man in this relationship. And so I was mourning the death of that relationship, and so I just wanted to be with my mother. So I made her go with me to China. I was running at the time, and so I went to run in the Shanghai Marathon. And so again, it was a year after my father's death, and we were at an antique store, and I found these beautiful little silver things that I knew my mother would love. And I said, "Oh, Mom, you have to buy these." And she said, "Jane, I'm winding down now." And then we flew back from China, and on the plane back, she actually fainted on the plane, and they had to give her oxygen. And when she arrived back in New Orleans, she went to bed, and she was diagnosed that her cancer had come back, and she spent the next year in bed dying. And I know, since she had already cured herself of cancer through holistic means, of terminal cancer, and I've talked about that in a previous session, I know she didn't have to die. I know that she died because she lost the will to live because my father had died. So I thought I would begin this. We're talking a lot about death of mothers, and we're trying to find our way into being loving to each other here, in spite of having fairly aggressive feelings at times towards one another, in some ways, towards some people. So I thought I would begin with that, and now I'm ready to hand the group over to the group. Hand the group
Thank
over to
you.
the
I'm ready
group.
for
That was
hugs.
so
I
beautiful.
want hugs.
Well,
That was a beautiful share.
yeah, I want to
Thank
say
you
that was
very much.
a beautiful
Yeah.
introduction,
What a
tying
strong
in the
woman.
war and here and now, and it was just wonderful.
And the will to live and the will to die. The
Yeah.
strength of both you saw. I mean, terminal cancer, that's, you're supposed to be gone.
Oh, yeah, but I think that's what I'm struggling with, the will to live right now. 'Cause I hope, you know,
Not to me.
I mean, you know, that's one of my issues now. Like,
I
now that
have
this
the
is-
same issue sometimes. I feel
I
like
just want to wake up and die. You know, you want to.
I
You don't wanna,
completely agree with you.
Yeah, you know, it's like I want to be with the people that I love
Yeah.
are up there now, wherever
Yeah.
they are. But
Can we hear from Dee somewhere?
I share. I just totally share your feeling. I mean, my mom, she was an arthritic of like 45 years,
A what?
and rheumatoid arthritis,
Oh,
and
oh.
so very crippled. And she was in a wheelchair the last 7 years of her life. And my dad died 10 years ago, and my mom was the one that was always going to die. I mean, through my entire
The
life.
sick one, right?
She was the sick one. My dad was the strong one.
That sounds
But I think that he just sort of ran out of gas at about 72, you know, trying to take care of my mom.
that's right. It kills you.
So, anyway, he died at 74. And all my relatives, everybody's like, well, Bonnie's going to go like that. She lived another 5 years in a wheelchair, 5-bedroom house, 2 dogs, 2 cats, took care of the whole damn thing from her wheelchair
Wow.
by herself.
Wow.
She caregiver every once in a while. But we're talking about will to live, and she had more will to live in her, pinky than I have in my entire body. I don't really know where that comes from, but
You know what it is? Because they don't want to leave you. I think that's why my mother hung it in for 2 months. Because I constantly kept on saying, "Moo, go in, go into the light."
So
She
what
didn't
about
wanna
us
go.
though? I mean, I guess I don't have anybody that I feel like I'm leaving. I
feel
know
like
I
what?
have friends and I love people and life's okay, but I don't think it's all that great that I that I really give a shit if I died tomorrow.
Oh, I
to be
don't
honest with
either.
you.
Don't you find joy in life?
Oh, I do all the
Okay,
time.
well, that's
I'm,
good.
I
You like life.
I like it okay, but
We
I
all
don't.
we all get.
But I think it's maybe I need somebody at this point to getting back to the 7-year relationship.
Maybe it's
thing.
faith. Maybe you're
Um,
missing faith.
How about
No.
purpose?
No, you try to convert them now.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
What about purpose? Do you feel like you're like
I'd like to kind of share my purpose, I think, with somebody possibly. I mean, I feel like I have purpose, but that might be it. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what my purpose is.
That's a positive though, because that's the problem. You feel like you don't have a
Well-
purpose. That's why you want to die. Because
Well-
I mean, I don't necessarily wanted it, but I don't care if I do.
yeah, I don't either.
I mean, if it, jet engine fell, I mean,
yeah,
Yeah.
I would be happy. I
Dee,
would be
Dee,
happy.
what's the connection between?
but I'm not unhappy and I'm not depressed. I mean, I get every once in a while, possibly a little bit, but
Dee, when
Mm-hmm.
did your mom pass away?
well, interesting thing. My dad passed away almost exactly 10 years ago. My mom passed away 5 years to the day.
That's
To
that's
the day.
freaky.
That's happened
freaky.
with my mom and dad.
5 years
to the day.
At my dad's.
Does
3
that-
years
yeah.
later.
freaky.
Or they
Yeah.
pass on their birthdays or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
To the day. And the same kind of thing that you were talking about, Jane, my mom talked about, you're not going to have to do this very much longer, Dee. I mean, she was saying that for about a couple months before.
They know. They know.
You know, a couple months before.
They know.
And
Doctors don't, but they do.
Dee, what's the connection between your 7-year relationship coming to an end and your mom passing away, or your dad? What was the timing of that?
Interesting. Just before, that ended right after my dad died, but then we remained really tight just because we kind of needed each other, I guess. He needed me, that's for sure. For about 3-4 years, and then probably a year or two before my mom died. But that was a good big loss for me that I don't think I've ever really gotten over.
But
You
Dee,
don't
it's
get
so
over
thank
it.
you for sharing it because I really feel, sad for you. And I didn't know this part of your life, and it's the first time I think you've really talked
I've never
about
talked
it.
about my life.
And
This is the
thank
first
you
time.
for sharing that.
Yeah, it's
Sure,
good to hear
sure,
your
sure,
story.
sure. But I really do think that after this, I've never, I want to get over this 7 year, the only real relationship I ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been 8.5, 9 years.
Yeah.
Since
Since
the
then.
end of it?
Totally.
Complicated grief.
But I've never gotten into anything else since.
Yep.
That's been any last. I've tried, and I feel like I've tried.
Well,
But, I don't know.
I think, and I'll just say it once because I really don't want to sound like a Bible thumper to you, Dee, but
I know you
I'm
want me
telling
to
you,
have faith. I
I'm
understand.
telling you, when you have faith in your life, these things
I have
become
faith
so
in my
much.
life.
No, when you go to church or synagogue, or when you participate in a religious community and a forum and a feeling from God, and when you're participating, it really takes a lot of the things that are difficult to deal with. It makes it a lot easier.
How does
Thank
how
you.
does
My
the
feeling
old
is
Not
I
everybody
wish that you would
feels
say
that
that
way,
for
though.
yourself.
how does the
You
old
can't
how does
Yeah.
the Old
really say
Testament
that
Yeah, you
for
should say that for
people,
yourself.
even though it might be true for some.
I
I
couldn't
will
Say that
remember.
for
Well,
everybody.
wait, listen.
No.
This
can't
is going
remember.
to be a genius statement from Goldberg. What is the first line of the Old Testament?
The first line of the Old Testament
God
is
created
God
the
created
whatever.
In the
In the
beginning,
beginning,
there
God.
was
Light.
light.
Life.
the Word.
The Word.
The word.
What I have faith in is the Word. I believe that this process of putting all of our thoughts and feelings into words is what we need to grow and to be whole.
I can grab onto that.
I live alone, and I get lonely. I really feel the isolation and the need for
Me
other
too,
people
man.
at times.
Yeah.
Me too.
And
Well,
one of the
faith-
things
faith-
that comes up to me too is that I'm a physical person. I need affection. I need hugs and touching. I love just the old one. Handshakes. That was
Right.
very accepted long before the 60s or so, when the human potential movement came more into focus and hugging was now becoming popular.
We all need a hug now and then.
Do you have a husband?
No.
So since
No,
your kids,
Not anymore. I've had 2.
so your kids are grown, so you
Yeah.
don't have so many hugs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to a lot of things that are being said. Purpose. I had 5 kids that I was feeding and clothing and buying everything for and doing everything I could for. And they're all gone. And, I'm scrambling around trying to find purpose, and I too have an old relationship I can't get past. Crazy about a man that wasn't crazy about me back. Oh dear.
You're having
your
a
turn.
feeling.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Everybody's crying today, my God.
You made me cry.
Yeah,
Was that
I didn't
one of
mean
your-
to make you cry.
Carol, was that one of your husbands?
No.
Oh, I'm looking right at it when I
No.
said that.
Unrequited love.
Anyway,
You really love her, don't you?
Oh, fuck. Kidding me?
She's a good person. She's got a
Absolutely.
good soul. You got a good soul.
I wish her a birthday.
Oh wow.
So you're still hurting over the relationship that you had? Or that
I don't feel like I do on a daily basis, but when I try to move on and meet another man, I don't. I'm not even interested.
are you comparing the new man?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Either
You're
they're ugly
comparing
or they're dumb or they're
Not
not
like him.
fun.
They're just not him, right? They're
Yeah,
not him. So
not
they
him.
can't win.
Carol, have you thought
Carol.
psychologically? 'Cause somebody used to say this all the time. When you lose someone, do you think he's crying over you right now?
No.
And that makes you
I
strong,
mean-
but it makes you feel better because you know he's not. You know he's
No,
moving
he
on
called
with
me
his
on
life.
Christmas night, and I hadn't heard from him in a long time.
Oh, that
And I
hurts.
thought, why do you have to do that? It just
Yeah.
dangles a kid in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that
like,
sucks.
I think I have a chance. He does love me. Why wouldn't he just forget me and move on? He lives in Indianapolis, and I'm here, and I haven't seen him in years.
Oh, Carol, I
That's
just
I would
never call
give
somebody
you a
that.
hug right now.
I just wish he wouldn't ever call me again.
I
you know?
wish you wouldn't either.
Why didn't you email him that and say not to call me? That it makes me.
I
feel
have,
bad.
and then I get drunk and dial in.
No, that's
We
not
all
good.
do that.
This
That's not
past couple of
healthy.
years, I don't do that. But
Right.
I've been through all of it. I've tried everything to move on. I just can't let go.
Carol, can I ask something?
You're too good for him, Carol.
That's
You've
right.
told us
It's easy.
about
That's the irrational part. You can't.
You can't say you're too good for him, but you are. He
Carol.
doesn't deserve you.
Can I ask this? you've told us how your mom and apparently your dad went along with, you know, you were the youngest of 5 girls. Your first husband and your second husband, did they go along with your mom and dad at their discriminating against you? I mean, did your first husband, your second husband defend you or say, you know, that isn't right, that you shouldn't experience that?
The
Were they
first
sup-
husband was critical, and the second husband was not.
You mean the first husband was critical of your mom?
No, of me.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean.
That's
It
bad
set the
right
stage,
there.
I think.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, the
this-
second husband was not critical of me. I grew up, I got married too young the first time, and
Yeah.
then I grew up and I recognized what, I even voted Republican with my first husband because I was
That's
so young.
bad.
I go, wait, who do
You're
I vote for?
forgiven.
Who did you vote for? And then I grew up over the next couple of years and I realized, I'm not voting for that asshole. You know? So, anyway.
You try to please him.
Once
So-
I grew up, I do feel like my second husband was a good partner, and you know,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways,
And
he
yet
was a good
this
father
new
and
guy
partner.
that exploits your feelings, because he's kind of like the first husband.
Yeah, you're going
that
back
was
to the first
critical of
guy.
you.
No,
What
I
do you
don't
like
think he's
about him?
critical of me.
What do you like about the guy?
Everything. He's like a movie star to me. He's
That,
like,
so he walks in the room
Yeah.
and you just get the butterflies
But
and you
I-
like lose it.
yeah.
But if you're not,
That wouldn't affect to having another human
But
being.
but you
he's
know
not,
he's
he's not
good for you?
reciprocating though. But
No.
that would piss me off. That you should get angry. It's okay to be angry.
I don't
Why?
I don't think a person can help how they feel.
Well,
No, but
Would-
but for him to call you like that out of the blue, that is torture for
He
someone
says
who loves
he loves
someone.
me,
Oh,
oh,
and
well, maybe
I'll
he does.
never know how much he thinks of me.
oh, right.
Well, then maybe he does, Carol.
I'm sure he does to a
Where is he
certain
then?
degree, but I
What do you
think
want from him?
I want to live with him every day.
Did you
What
tell
I
is
wish
he-
him?
every day. That,
And what does he
oh
want
yeah,
from
we
you?
talked about it.
And what does he
For
want
years.
from you?
Nothing.
He doesn't want to live.
Then he's
with you.
not
No,
in
he
love
wants
with
to be
you,
able to
no.
call every 6 months.
What? That's love? That's
Yeah.
I
not
mean,
love?
obviously that's what
That's
he wants
not the
because
worst
that's what he's
thing.
doing.
Right.
No, that's
He's
not
offering.
love though. She wants more.
But that's
Right.
not the
What's
worst thing
more?
that can happen.
She wants
Carol.
So, meantime, I date other men.
Right. No,
But
I wouldn't wait.
nothing
I
else.
wouldn't wait.
are your
Maybe
mom
there's
and dad
something you
still
can do
living?
inside yourself.
No, they
That,
aren't.
that would free you up from him so that you could have.
If
doesn't
I
wanna
would
be
lose
free now.
weight,
Now that's the problem. Yeah, you don't. You know.
if I could
That's
lose
bad.
weight, maybe I could attract men.
Walter,
equal
she
to
doesn't
him.
want to be. free.
That's ridiculous.
I know.
You know what?
You don't need to
beautiful.
lose weight to be the
You're
gorgeous
beautiful
person
inside,
you are.
Carol.
You
my
forget
God.
about it, Carol.
I'm beautiful on the outside, Barb.
You're-
No,
Just-
but,
I have
but
to
you're,
say that
you know
because
what?
I heard you say earlier that somebody is too fat, and that person you're talking about is pretty petite, actually.
No, well, no, but when you go around thinking, you know, you could dress like.
I'm
Look,
just
there's a
saying.
lot of guys like what you got busting out there, baby. So don't you even think twice about it, please.
Yeah,
They will
you're-
line up,
you're very
They will line
pretty.
up out of this door to have something to hang on to. Believe
Thank
me.
you. I just had to say that in defense of someone else. But
Carol.
Well, no, but
Are
don't
your
compare
mom and
yourself
dad
to what I
still
said about the
living?
other
no,
person.
no. They died years ago.
And you never able to resolve your disappointment with them, that they discriminated against you? You were never.
It wasn't. My mother was very critical, but and my sisters, but my father was very supportive.
Paul, what are you
of me.
trying to get at? 'Cause
I
she's
guess. I guess.
she's just expressed this thing with her boyfriend, so I
Right.
go
You
back
know
to
what
the
I'm
parents.
trying to
so-
answer your question, Kate. What I'm trying to get at, and I think Dr. Jane has alluded to it maybe 10 sessions ago, is the issue of transference, that we transfer onto other people some of the original traumatic feelings that we experienced from the kind of abusive, yucky relationship.
Does that actually happen in this group?
Yeah, and I'm just trying to explore, and you can all, you know, see for yourselves, whether or not maybe the unresolved, held-in feelings that of disappointment she had towards her mom led to the first husband, and maybe it's a reincarnate with this guy that's torturing you.
So I want to know if Molly wants to contribute.
Okay.
I concur with Paul.
What does that mean?
I think that we have I have a tendency, for example, to repeat certain attractions,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and pull people in that either aren't available emotionally.
Right.
That's one of my favorite ones. And they seem the gallery of rogues sort of seems to evolve a little bit over the years. But I realized when my ex-husband left me for another woman that it had nothing to do really with him. It was like my relationship with my father and my brother. So instead of getting help and saying it's all my ex-husband's fault and blaming him for running off or whatever, I thought, let me heal my relationships with the other two, and then things will get better. And things are getting better, but you know the good news is now I get along with the other two better.
Yeah, but Carol, I think that it's a beautiful thing to feel that kind of passion for another person. Now, whether they're going to do
misplaced.
everything that you want them to do or you dream about, I think it's still a precious thing to be able to feel that
Yeah.
connection with another human being. And just because he's not doing what you want him to do, to erase that connection would be, that's not something,
But-
No, that's not
Unrequited
healthy.
love is
That's
a
not
bitch,
healthy.
though, man.
I never
It's
said
not
it was
healthy.
love. I never said it was
It's not
love.
healthy.
It could be
But
infatuation.
this is unrequited.
She
love.
could be.
Yeah.
That's unrequited love. Why would she want that person?
So
Love
is-
doesn't give you pain.
Is that so?
Infatuation
Is this
does.
is it
Love
possible?
comes.
Is
Yeah,
it possible
what
to
is love?
convert the pain of unrequited feeling to the pleasure of the feeling that you yourself have? Is that a possibility that you could make that shift that Kay's suggesting?
I
Yeah,
Enjoy
turn it into
enjoy what you
something.
have.
Turn it into
and-
something positive and
I
not think
feel
about.
grateful and I feel whole
Good.
every day. But whenever I think of him,
It's
I'm
pain.
sad.
Once.
It's pain.
So
Unrequited
that's
love is like
so that's not
masturbation.
love, right?
Grief.
No, I don't
I
think
thought you
so.
said he was like a movie star to you. Felt when he's around.
That's
you get the
physical.
butterflies.
Yeah, that's a physical attraction. That's
physical.
dangerous.
That's
No,
good too.
we
Love
are
is part
very-
physical too.
No, she's
No,
in
but
love with
no,
that.
he's not in
She's
love
in
with
love
her.
with that.
Unrequited love is like
enjoy the
masturbation. You're
love.
doing everything
That's all
yourself, and
it
there's no
is.
one else doing it for
Doesn't
you. That's
matter.
it.
A lot of times in life,
You're-
we
you're
love
alone.
something, it doesn't come back
Oh,
to
that's
you. You know what I mean?
painful
It's
shit,
painful,
man.
yeah.
But
That's
it's
painful
You don't want
stuff.
that
but
in
you're
your life.
responsible for your love. If you have the feeling, you're entitled.
But
to
let
the
her
feeling.
take
Sometimes
So-
it doesn't
that
come
love
back.
to
So
someone who
I was
appreciates
complaining
it.
to my analyst about this guy that I had a crush on, and I was way too old to kind of have that
Cougar?
Twitter when I was with him, but I did
No, you were.
nevertheless.
That's fabulous.
And there was no indication that he, had reciprocal feelings. I didn't know one way or the other. And she said something that really turned it around for me, which essentially was what you said to Carol. She said, how wonderful that there's somebody alive on the planet that you have these feelings for. And so I stopped thinking altogether about what he might bring to me, but only was aware of the pleasure of the feeling that I had for him. And it did then become pleasurable from then on.
Yeah.
But I had a very strong relationship with my analyst. And I think had anyone else said that to me, I would have said, what nonsense are you talking about?
Yeah,
Why do
that-
women like to
that's
torture
right.
themselves
It's
with
just-
that
she
kind
still
of
I
has
think
that
it's fabulous.
whole-
Yeah,
Feel-
she does. Women,
I
hold on.
You have
let
more
it
of
go.
a
Let it
I
go.
want to say something here.
Wonderful feeling.
I want
They're so
love and
infancy.
openness from everybody. It's a dream, and it's not impossible.
And it doesn't have to
And
be
it's not going to
sexual.
happen in generations, maybe, but I want openness and honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean just intellectual honesty, but real open-heartedness, feelings from
Well,
everybody.
everybody,
I mean,
yeah.
I love it.
Mhm.
I love it. I dream of being able to walk the street as a male, Sicilian, half Sicilian. Boys don't cry, Italian macho. Being able to walk the streets and walk in the park and seeing a beautiful flower and crying because it's just so beautiful to me, and not having to be afraid and ashamed.
Right.
Right.
I agree. Yeah,
That's
true.
what
Cool.
I think.
But
There's so
Carol-
much going on in the big world out there,
Yeah.
and we bring it with us in here.
Mhm.
That we hold in so many of our feelings, and we hold them still. And cutting the outward expression of them also cuts into the experiencing of them.
Mhm.
We can't necessarily sit still and just feel internally for every emotion.
And that's going
I
on
just
for
want to say
16
a
weeks,
little
so-
bit, one little thing about love too. Those twittery feelings, those are very infancy. those are infancy love.
That's romantic
feelings.
love.
That's why they're so painful when the other person doesn't even know you're in the
Romantic
room and you're
love.
having all these little twittery feelings. That's really love in its infancy.
Yeah.
So if it can't grow beyond being the infant, then you take it for the infant
No,
for what
no,
it
no,
is, and you either keep it or you don't. But you can enjoy those. Those are just.
Well,
Those are very
Take
young
the enjoyment and give the
feelings.
guy
Yeah,
who will
like Carol-
reciprocate.
Go ahead, babe.
this isn't in its infancy.
No.
This is a
It's-
16-year
No, that's
relationship.
crazy.
No, but if
Relationship.
those
That's
twittery
crazy.
feelings are, well, then it could be a 50-year relationship. If those feelings are still going on, love, the curve of the love
That's not
is still at its infancy. Time has nothing to do with love.
I
Since
think
when
twittery
does time
feelings-
and love have ever coincided?
I think twittery feelings should be,
Reciprocated.
well, but I
Forever.
think that
Well, then you-
absolutely.
Well, then you haven't been in a 20, 30-year
I
relationship.
don't-
So,
There's
Well,
no
I had
doubt
it, but I
that
think my
Carol's
parents
is
always had that
sad
Twitter
feelings.
release. Right,
It
There's,
was-
there's
No
hurt, there's,
way.
there's grief.
Absolutely.
come on.
What
Wait a
do
minute,
you
you're
want?
judging
I
his
haven't-
parents?
You don't know my
You're
parents.
judging his parents.
Don't you
No,
judge
that's not
what my
right.
parents
They're not like
felt.
yours.
Okay,
I lived
No,
with
that's
them.
not
I know
right.
how they felt
That's
about
not
each
right.
other, and they were twittery. Their entire
that's
wedding,
beautiful.
their entire marriage.
That's beautiful.
Well,
and it does exist. It's rare, but it
They
exists.
were.
Barbara, you've done really great today, and there's just one suggestion that I have for improvement. To just not overlay your talk on top of when other people are talking. If you could just hold the floor when you have the floor, and then let other people have the floor when they have it, that would you'd be on top of the world if you did that. So how do we want to end today's session? Anybody want to sum up?
Some of the time.
Well, anyway, I think that twittering can last.
I'm
A
not saying that it
lifetime within
can.
people.
I think you're right.
I really do.
I think that it can, but that just isn't called, that is not allowing love to mature to any kind of level. You keep it in an
I think
infancy
it's
stage.
part of the maturity.
And you're allowed to
I
do
think
that.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
I think
You're
it's
allowed
part
to
of
do
it.
that.
I think it's part of it. But I appreciate what you're trying to do for Carol to help her hold on to something that
She's
will
allowed.
make her to make her
Do you
happy.
remember the Helen Fisher little talk that I gave about chemical attraction, how long it lasts
That's
in the
right,
animal
that's-
world?
Thank you.
So
Well, not
I
more.
think twittering can last, and I think twittering can't last.
Sure.
That it can
Absolutely.
do either.
Either
Absolutely.
way.
And so whatever it is that has been
Right.
your experience
How about
is-
it?
I've heard a lot of people
We
like
can agree.
chiming in as a group. A lot of people with individual things trying to contribute and also themselves be heard. And my personal feeling is I kind of like that. It's sort of like a singing chorus.
It's a support group.
Listen, I want to say back to Barbara, you said something that's the most brilliant thing that you have said since I've known you in these.
Oh.
How many weeks have we done?
16.
No.
17.
This is
18.
number 16 today.
I don't know.
Okay,
Boys
whatever.
count.
18.
Carol,
18.
she said, just get angry. The antidote to pain is aggression and anger. If you just get angry at the guy for not loving the fabulous, gorgeous, beautiful
Yeah,
person
it's
that
his
you are,
loss, not yours.
Right.
just,
It's true.
It's his loss.
he's done.
Yeah.
We're all gonna go kill him for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's go. Give us his number. We'll call
Collectively.
him. Tell him to back off.
And there are a few X's of mine that
Tell
I
him to
can
lose his
Check it
give
out.
y'all
lose your
the-
number.
where to find them.
Throw 'em
too.
in.
Thank you. Thank y'all. Good group.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, bravo.